Right, now that we have our test, let's go ahead and run it and see whether it works. So here I'm going to right click and then run. Just give a second, and we also have to change the name of our test. And this failed, so let's have a look why. And URL should start with a path or be complete, so that's fine. So basically this has to be /, and also here let's just say can and then register new and then student. And now if I run the test again, hopefully this time it should pass if we've done everything correctly. So basically I just ran this, and this is student_it.name, but .name does not exist, right? Because we've changed the name to can register student. So right click and then run. And ta-da, you can see that this works, which is really cool. So what I want to do actually is click on databases, and then let's add a new data source. And here I'm going to choose PostgreSQL, and then localhost, and then this is Amigos code. The password was password. So basically I want to connect to Docker PS to this database, but through IntelliJ. And then here this was Amigos code, right? So the database. If I test the connection, and it seems like the password did fail, so let me cancel that. So Amigos code, oh actually I think it was Postgres if I'm not mistaken. So let's just see PSQL, and yeah, so the user was Postgres. So user is Postgres, not Amigos code. There we go. If I test, you can see that this time it works. Apply, and then OK. And there we go. So we have one database, and then we have schemas, one table, and then student. So here I can say select, and then star from, and then student. If I press command and then enter, you can see that. Have a look here. So we have lol@gmail.com, and this was Jamila. So this was basically from our integration test, which means that it's working beautifully. So let me just collapse this for a second. And in here, if I go back to the controller, or actually to the IT, right? So student IT. And if I collapse this, so basically if I run this again, this now should fail, right? Because the email is already taken, and you can see that it did fail. And if I scroll down, you can see that this was a 400, right? So this is exactly what we are expecting. And you saw when we did with the React front end, we're actually handling this with a notification, which is really nice. So cool. So this is working. And now let me just collapse this, and you can see that our test is working beautifully. So one thing that we just have to change is how we generate the name, the email, so on and so forth. So for this, we're going to use Faker in a second, but just to tell you that when you have integration tests, you always want to test the happy path, right? Because all of the rest, you have tested it with unit tests. So in here, I'm only interested in the happy path, right? So whether we can actually register a student. So now that we have our test up and running, next, let's go ahead and use Faker to generate some fake emails and names that you can use for your integration tests.